And without further ado, the Honorable Maria Alonzo. The
Thank you,
floor is yours.
everyone. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mitch, for inviting me tonight. And, you asked about my campaign. I have not formally announced. I think that you probably were the first publicly to know, from the public to know that I was planning on running. I had taken some time to think and decide whether or not I was going to be committed enough to stay. I think it's important to do the work. It's important to show up. And I know that there is a lot of work to be done. And so thank you for asking and encouraging me, Mitch, to decide. Yes, I have not formally announced. However, my campaign the last time that I ran, it was important for me to be supportive of communities of color within the district, elevate the voices. I think that historically our district has not intentionally done much work around being inclusive. I think that oftentimes we find ourselves talking a lot, and we are really good at talking, and we're sometimes not great at doing. And so my campaign was a lot about supporting our educators and about helping communities of color, students, families, to be seen and to be heard. And that is not going to change this time around. My intent is to continue to elevate communities of color and amplify their voice. I am and the reason that I had to think about whether or not I was going to run again is because I'm a single parent and I have 3 children, and I try to stay involved in the community as much as I can. I also have a job, and so when if you want to know more about me, I'm a single mom. I stay very active. I believe in collaborative work. I believe that the power lies in the collective, and I think it's important to build relationships with all communities. I have been in Des Moines and since 1990. Let's see, I am thinking 97 is when I first came to Des Moines. I am employed by Polk County. I have been there. This will be my 26th year. I work in the anti-violence movement. And previous to Polk County, I did work for Children and Families of Iowa at the Family Violence Center. I graduated from Iowa State and then also went on and got my master's in counseling from Drake, and currently doing some work to do some work independently and be able to serve families. Mental health is really important to me as well, and that's something that I recognize within the district. We lack services, adequate services for students and their families, and so I'm excited about embarking on going through that process so that I'm able to be a resource to people in our community. Let's see, I have 3 children. 2 graduated from DMPS. My youngest will graduate this year, my third. And let's see, currently I am serving on not only the school board, I'm also serving on another, a fairly new board, is the Safe Center board. It's a center that is working to create a space for survivors of particularly sexual assault for forensic examining. And I'm excited about that. I think that it's really, it's a powerful step. It's a resource is very much needed in our community. And it really, it helps me to be there in support of survivors because I'm a victim advocate. And so in that board, I serve as the representative for those doing victim work, counseling, and advocacy. And it's important for me to make sure that the services that we provide there are inclusive of all the survivors that we have in our community. Let's see, I don't know,
Well,
how much more time do I have, Mitch?
that's it.
Okay.
No, you did perfect.
Okay,
You did the
great,
5 minutes.
great.
So I'll ask just like a couple questions, and again, we'll give
Yes.
you a couple minutes to close it out towards the end.
Mhm.
So what? Gun violence continues to be a major concern in our community and in many communities around the country. Specifically, how can board members ensure students will remain safe physically in their schools?
Mitch, repeat the very first part of the question.
Oh, with gun violence continues to be a concern.
Okay,
Specifically, how can the board ensure students are safe physically?
yes. Um, you know, I think it's really important. So the board will, the board's responsibility, our responsibility as board members, my responsibility as a board member is to represent the vision, right? And the vision of the community, right? What is it? The values of our community, the vision and the values of our community. What is it that's important to our community? And I think that there is a topic that is very much of concern to families. And I think that when we hear from the community that gun violence is something that threatens the mental health or stability, mental health related concerns for of students, then it's our job to be able to hear and to figure out with our superintendent what it is that we can do to protect them. Now, I say this because it's really important for our community to be very vocal and to be present. And I think that oftentimes our board hears a lot from those that are familiar with how to participate, with that are able to speak the language and express concerns. But I believe that it's also important to hear from everyone else that has the same concern. And so that is one of the ways that we as a board can hear and then share that information with our superintendent and request that the superintendent sees what resources, what funding are allocated to be able to provide a safe environment for our students. How do we protect that students as a board? I think that hearing, listening to our community, bringing up what's going on, but then encouraging everyone to participate and to elevate their concerns so that we as a board, we cannot go and implement any policy, but it's that happens when we can hear the community and bring that to the superintendent, and the superintendent then has to figure out what we need to do as a district to help students feel safe.
Let me go to a second question. Thank you, Maria.
Mhm.
Many immigrant families are fearful that ICE could disrupt their lives and the students experiencing anxiety related to their family and friends. I mean, what is the district doing to support families of immigrants,
Mhm.
and how is that being communicated to them? And I wanted to thank you for the statement that you made specifically back in December on that.
Mhm. Thank you. Immigration is the laws within immigration laws are not easy, and they're complex, and sometimes can affect the lives of many in a very negative way. And I think that we've seen that here more recently. Certainly the anxiety that it creates for families is really beyond probably what anyone can imagine, unless you're experiencing that yourself. What our district has done is that we have acknowledged, right, publicly, that we recognize that a lot of our families are experiencing challenging times because of immigration policy. However, we have expressed that our schools continue to be a safe place for them. And we understand that, early after the inauguration, many people found themselves doubting, not trusting anyone, and really finding it challenging to even send children to school because of fear. And that was very valid. And I think it was important for us to reach out to families to communicate that not only, were we safe, but that we also supported them. And so our superintendent began working with his cabinet to organize collaborative efforts with community with service providers who could inform and support families in regards to rights, in regards to options and resources that families would need. How does that get communicated? There are various platforms that families receive information from, but I think that also in the Spanish radio with our community and the Spanish-speaking community, families were able to hear some of that information. And then also the district has a Facebook page that has been utilized in Spanish, that's been utilized to disseminate some of that information. So I think that being open about the support that the district can provide to families, expressing, right, that we empathize with what they're going through, but not only being empathic, but compassionate, right? Which I think, to me, being compassionate requires you actually doing something. Compassion requires action. And so being a resource, informing people, and then creating those collaborations, I think, with the community is really helpful to our families.
Well, thank you, Maria. I'm going to give you like 1 minute to close that on your end. I mean, talk a little more about your campaign or yourself, but you have
Yes.
1 minute, then I'll take the final minute and close it out.
Thank you. Communities of color in our district have historically been marginalized. Communities of color have been there. We have been here. We have just had trouble being heard. And I hope that in the next 4 years, I am able, if elected, to continue to be someone who is who can promote, even though we're not supposed to say a lot of things, right? With where we are today in terms of politics. I think that I hope to be the person that can continue to encourage my board and the community to not see families as through a different lens, but really to see people and students as just people. We are here to serve, and I hope that we don't lose focus. And so I'm hoping to have the opportunity to be able to maybe hold people accountable and remind others around me that it's important to stay focused.